My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. All right, welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Arin Lindauer, and today we're going to dig into every season changes. I cannot tell you how excited I get when literally May hits. And I don't know what it is, but I can tell you just a few things. And it's going to help really paint the picture of different seasons that each of us go through at different points of our life. And the most beautiful thing about every season is it will change. Different seasons are awesome. Different seasons absolutely suck. But the cool thing is things do change. And if you're willing to take note, some things are very cyclical and you can plan ahead. And so what I want to dig into today is that every season in your life will change. Where you may feel like, man, this season just sucks. Or you may feel like, you know what, this season is really good. And knock on wood, like I'm just going to hold my breath, right? Because you're waiting for the next problem or storm or whatever. So here, for example, in Indiana, where I am physically located today, hopefully not forever, it's May. And when May comes, it's like our yard is beautiful. It's the most beautiful shade of green. We've been overseeding it. I think we're in our 4th season in this home. And it's finally just taking strong roots. And for anyone who has built a home and they put in sod, but they don't do anything to the soil underneath, it takes eternity for you to get your grass to actually look decent. And so I'm just so excited to see all the flowers blooming. I just had my irises coming up, and it's just like this new life. And it's warm. That's a whole nother thing. And then lastly, why I love this change of seasons is I've got my ferns. So for anyone who knows anything about Indianapolis, we are huge Indianapolis 500 people, and it's kind of a big deal in our city for the Memorial Weekend. And so I've got my ferns out, I've got my American flag swags are out, I've got all my checkered pillows out, and it just makes me happy. It makes me happy every time I drive up to our home, and I just love all the patriotic, and I love the green, and I love my ferns. So every year it's this game to see how much I can water these daggum things so that they live. So our home faces west, so I am always battling the sun. So I wanted to start with that because, right now I can tell you I feel really happy. But I can tell you that if we just went back a few months when it was really dark, it was cold, that I just didn't feel the best, right? And we can look at this in a multitude of metaphors or symbolism. And I have a feeling that several of us have felt different ups and downs of life, and it affects our health and it affects our well-being. And so today I wanted to dig into this topic and kind of weave it around for you to help paint the picture that this season will change. That you may have felt stuck, absolutely stuck with a health goal, with a weight loss goal. You just can't seem to get traction, or maybe you've seen some really good results, but you just can't get over that next hump. And I want to tell you that the season will change for you. If work has been really demanding and taken a lot out of you, thankfully that season will change, but sometimes we have to make our own seasons change. So we're going to come back to that. But I want to acknowledge that you're going to have patterns and you're going to notice things. One thing that I noticed just right away was the second it was May, I was like, it's time to get my ferns. And Tony just knows I love these daggum things. They make me happy. And if he was being completely transparent, he loves them too. So, but it's just a fern, right? But did it make me happy, or was it just my mindset around it? Okay, so could I be happy with or without the ferns? I could be happy with or without the ferns, but I attach an emotion to seeing them go up. So that's good or bad, right? We can call that good, we can call that not so good, or we can be indifferent about it. And so what I want you to understand is, are there patterns showing up in your life where we're good and then we're not good, and then we're good and then we're not good? I want you to take notice. I want you to take notice how much time evolves. I want you to take notice just the array of emotions. And I want you to start getting really curious around, okay, how is this impacting my life? Is it helping me get towards my goals or away from my goals? See, it's really important for us to identify these things so that A, you can catch it. For me, it's always very important through the winter months to tell myself, hey girl, you're okay. You still can work out, you can still get your steps in. Just because it's dark, there's so many reasons that we can tell ourselves why we can or cannot hit a goal. We do this in business. We tell ourselves, well, when this happens, this will happen. When this happens, that will happen. And a lot of times we leave a lot of things out of our control versus taking a step back and saying, okay, I'm presented with this situation in my business, in my life, in my finances, in my relationships, but what have I not considered? I'm always constantly evaluating how we do business, how we acquire customers, how we serve customers, how we get results, trying to figure out constantly what is going to be the best way to do this, or consider what other people have done. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it, something to bring in pieces of? And so what you want to constantly be doing with your life is evaluating, and not evaluating in a good or bad, wrong or right. Just, hey, what have I not considered? Maybe I should look at this financing option. Maybe I should look into this professional that can help me with this problem. Maybe I need to open up and chat a little bit more with this business associate, right? And so it's always kind of just stepping back and looking at things. And instead of just saying, man, I'm in a terrible spot, I'm so stuck, I can't get out of this, this is too hard. Because here's the thing. If you keep telling yourself that you're in a bad place, guess what? You're going to stay being in a bad place. But if you keep acknowledging, going, okay, this is not what I want, but what do I want instead? See, I can talk with women all day long about what they don't want. Women are really good about talking about what they don't want, but they're not so good at sharing what they actually want. See, when I start asking a woman, hey girl, what do you really want? She'll again come back to, well, I don't want this on my stomach, or I don't want this on my thighs, or, I hate that I keep going through these patterns with my food or getting into these ruts and I don't know what to cook and I end up at the drive-through. And I mean, you can just see it coming a mile away, but when you're in it, it's really hard to see it. And so it does take having someone professionally say, hey girl, like you've repeated these things multiple times. You need to come up with what do you want instead and focus on that. Because we will continually repeat these terrible seasons of life, these really challenging moments. And for a really long time, I struggled with this whole concept of truly designing my life. But the more intentional I get, the more detailed I get with, hey, this is actually what I want, but then taking it 10 more layers. These are all the steps I'm going to have to take. And this is going to be the time and the consistency and the persistence towards getting what it is that I actually desire. See, for most of us, this can happen a lot quicker than we even realize. I watch women lose weight, just boom, 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 boom. And it is very, very interesting when it just comes off extremely rhythmically. And it's not a struggle. That is a woman who literally made up her mind. She said, I'm no longer in this crappy season of life. I'm moving into a new season of me. A season of me that I desire, that I want, and I'm willing to do the things. Yes, I'm going to have to get uncomfortable. Yes, I'm going to have a little bit of hunger. Yes, I'm going to have to try doing things a little bit differently, planning, preparing, and who knows where you're going to create the time or space. But I'm here to tell you it doesn't take that much more time and space. And I'll be honest, when you really take control of your health, it's almost like everything else becomes easier because now, can you imagine not thinking about your health? Can you imagine traveling and always eating well? Can you imagine going to a restaurant and you just naturally pick something that is good for your body? Can you imagine planning a really fun dinner that you know you're going to indulge and it's all good and we're not worried about weight loss? I can imagine that for you. I know that this is possible for you. But what we've got to do is we've got to get out of this season of woe is me, I'm frustrated, I'm struggling. And this isn't to say that like things don't happen, that things don't come up, and it doesn't mean that we're just positive Patty over here, right? But what it means is we take things in stride and we understand that we are in control of our emotions. As quickly as we can be sad, we can be happy. And again, this doesn't mean that you're not going to have a sad day. You're not going to have things that happen that you're like, dude, that stinks. But how you react to all of this is part of it. And it's okay to be like, dang, this sucks. And I would say a few more words, but we'll keep it PG. But you can have a day that you're like, that was not cool. But we don't get to waller in it. We don't get to just sit in the mud. Okay? Think about how you would coach your kiddo. What would you say to your kiddo if they were in a tough season of life? Now, for some of us, we would tap them on the butt and be like, come on, you got this. Like, let's go. For some of us, we would sit down beside them and we would say, tell me what's going on. Tell me how you're feeling. And then we would offer some condolences and, hey, here's what we can do differently. Or, hey, what do you want instead? Okay, I think it's really important to teach our kids, hey, you can have a bad day. Hey, you can have something not go the way you want it. But let's focus on what do you want instead and how can we do this? See, I think kids, and it's very interesting because our kids are very much in this time and space where money is like no object. And as a parent, like you gotta pull the reins in a little bit here. And like, you can't just go to Target and buy anything you want at any time, because it teaches them zero responsibility around money and et cetera, et cetera. And we all have probably different belief systems around this, and that's all good. But it's important for them to understand that, we can't just poof and magically a new gaming system shows up, or every other day we're getting the latest, greatest, whatever new video game at $59.99 or whatever it costs. and it's okay. And it's okay for them to experience a little bit of disappointment. It's okay for them to understand, hey, you can sell some of your old toys, and guess what? When you do that, cool, go buy what it is that you want. It's all good. It's okay for us to think about how we would coach our kiddo through a tough day. And that's literally what you need to say to yourself. What I know happens with women is we talk pretty nasty to ourselves. Tell ourselves we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not whatever enough, right? I know that internal dialogue. I've experienced it myself. And there are multiple times that I've had to really check myself and say, hey girl, that's not true. That is not true. And we would never allow our daughter or our son to talk that negatively to themselves. So I want to challenge you in this season of life that's maybe stressing you a little bit more than usual, that may be, presenting more challenges than what we would really like to experience. I was chatting with someone the other day, and we were like, I could handle each of these problems individually, but when they're all presenting themselves all at once, and I'm like, isn't that just part of entrepreneurship? Like, how much can you handle? and hopefully you're laughing at this, but it is one of those things that I feel we experience is like, it's never just one thing. It's never just like one thing went sideways. It's like, it's this, then it's this, and then it's this. And then you're like, holy manolies, nothing else. And then bam. So some of that is quote unquote designing it. And now you may say, Arin, that's weird. Why would I design crappy things to happen in my life? You don't do it intentionally. Okay. Nobody does that intentionally. But it is a byproduct of having thoughts that are not serving you. And we need to keep our focus on what do we want instead. If we were to know what is it that we desire, that we want, the outcome that is favorable, and that's what we need to meditate on. That's what needs to marinate. That is what your thoughts need to constantly be consumed with. I have phrases that I say over and over and over again every single day. And I've had to really ingrain these phrases in my head because so many times I was focusing on what I didn't want to have happen. And I kept saying, oh my gosh, I don't want this, I don't want that. And then boom, those things happened. But that's what I was focused on. So I have had to intentionally create the statements of my desired outcome. You may create a statement around, I am X number on the scale. Instead of just hoping and praying that scale goes down every day, which, let's just be real, even though we see that scale go down, that is not the number we desire. So why would we hope and pray for that number? Instead, focus on the actual number that you want, or the actual shorts that you want to wear, or the actual figure that you want to see in the mirror. I want you to meditate and put this imagery in your head so that it becomes your reality. Because your seasons are going to change, my friend. Your seasons will change. But you have the power to change the season in an instant. The second you can feel sad, feel happy. The second you can feel satisfied with your meal, feel unsatisfied. Okay? It's all just a shift. So let's focus on what it is that we want, and let's create the seasons that support us towards our goals, towards our dreams, and we stay 100% focused on what it is that we actually desire versus what we don't want. Your new season is coming. That is my hope, wish, prayer, and the design that I want you to take part in today. Design your future. Design your next season. And let's go.